Okay, hello everyone. Good morning and welcome to this webinar for Malaysia, all about Scopus focused on search and discovery. I'll be presenting today together with Nicholas. We're both senior consultants for Elsevier. We're based in Singapore, so just next door. As Nicholas mentioned, today's session is recorded. We will send you a link tomorrow. Zoom will send you a link with the slides, a link to the slides as well as the recording. Please use the Q&A box to ask questions or the chat if you have something to communicate to us. Today's webinar is the second webinar in a series that we're doing focused on Malaysia. So you can see every session is Malaysia, Malaysia, Malaysia. Today's search and discovery, the 20th of June, 25th of July, sorry, will be content selection and curation. 20th September will be the analytical features and research metrics. October 24th will be author profiles, preprints and topics. November 7th will be the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So you can use these QR codes to register. And again, the slides will be sent to you tomorrow, so don't worry about doing this now. Today is all about search. So we're going to give a short introduction to Scopus. We're going to talk about basic search strategies. So that's like the basics of how to find things, papers, journals, people, strategies for doing that in Scopus. Nicholas is going to talk about advanced search using Boolean operators, which you can really look for very specific things if you learn to construct a good search. So we're going to look at how you do that. I'm going to cover journal search, which is a little bit of a different category because it's not searching for articles, but you're looking at individual journals or conferences or books. If you ask questions in the Q&A box, we will monitor that and answer the questions as they come up, and we'll also leave some space at the end in case there are unanswered questions. And at the end, as always, we'll give you instructions on how to get your certificate of completion if you want that, right? That's certainly not mandatory, but for those of you that want certificates, you can get one. So with that, are we set to go? Yeah, all right. So Nicholas has a cough, so he's going to talk less today, but he's keeping me company at least, so that's good. For those of you that are new to Scopus, I know there's a lot of students and early career researchers that are attending. So Scopus is basically a very comprehensive database of peer-reviewed literature. It by now has over 90 million records. So those are articles in peer-reviewed journals, conferences, and books. We have profiles representing over 17 million people, almost 100,000 institutions. We have more than 20 million open access items. So those would be articles that are published using open access. So anyone with internet can read the full text. So on top of this data, Scopus provides you really great search functionality, which we're going to look at today, and filters to refine your search and basically help you to find content that's interesting for you to read. But it also aggregates this content so that you can look at the level of a researcher, for example, to see everything that he or she has produced, or to an organization to see everything that a particular organization has produced. So it is really powerful in that way, and it's based on some really great content sets. We're including a lot of metrics so that you can understand differences in quality between papers and between journals and so forth. Scopus is curated, so all of the content is selected by a content selection advisory board. So the quality of the content is much higher than if you look at an open database like Google Scholar, for example, might have more content, but it includes predatory content or bad quality content, while Scopus makes a lot of effort to curate. I would say I usually call it search and discovery and kind of evaluation or analysis, but I see Scopus as helping people search and find things, which here is referred to as progressing research. So it can help people from students to teachers to researchers to find papers, content, to understand the, who's doing what, and understand the profile of a given person. Evaluation is more like at an institutional level, how the content in Scopus can help someone understand what is a university doing or a given person doing, or what is the impact of a particular paper or a group of papers. So there's more about understanding at a slightly higher level than, let's say, an individual paper. That is useful to a lot of different types of people, from students to researchers, librarians, editors, heads of departments, any research services or administrative group. So we have a lot of different types of people using Scopus. And Malaysia is a huge user of Scopus. So we have the 20 public universities are all on Scopus, and then we have, I think, 5 or 6 private universities as well. So Malaysia and Scopus have a long history together, and that's why we give these webinars that are dedicated to Malaysia. The content spans across journals, conferences, and books. Journals are across all subject areas, while conferences would focus more on engineering and computer sciences, while books would focus more on social sciences, arts, and humanities. Scopus includes journals from 105 countries, 45 different languages. We have 13,000 or more new papers are loaded every day into Scopus. So it continually updated, right, with the latest peer-reviewed literature, so that you can keep up to date with that. But keeping up to date, first you have to search for what you're interested in, right? Or what's useful for you as a student, as a researcher, as a librarian, as an administrator. It's a huge content set. You can't browse through it and just hope to find what, is useful for you. You need to have a strategy for searching, narrowing down, and finding the data points that are relevant for you, right? So today, what I want to look at in basic search strategies is how to do document search, how to link to full text, how to build a query, how to set up alerts, what use is the search history, how do I search for authors or institutions rather than papers, and how can we look at the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals in Scopus. If you think something is missing, just pop it in the Q&A, and we'll try to cover it. So you can see Scopus now. So this is the Scopus landing page, and very clearly Scopus is geared around search, because right in the middle of the screen there's a search box, right? And you can see here you've got 3 tabs: documents, authors, affiliations. So you can search for individual papers, for people, or for institutions. If you're searching for documents, you need to choose which fields you're going to search in. A paper has many different fields. It's got a title, it has an abstract, it has references, it probably has the name of the institution that the authors are working at, it has the country, it sometimes has funding information. You can search in all of those fields. By default, it's set to title, abstract, and keywords, which is pretty good, because anything that you search for, it will hit in either of those. So if I look at, I do a phrased search for tacit. Sorry, now I'm the one that has to cough. Give me a minute. So I'm trying to see where were the hits. Why is it not showing it? Here, maybe? Usually it would show the hits, right?
Normally it should. Maybe what we could do is under search itself, we could narrow it down to title, abstract, and keywords, perhaps.
Yeah, anyway, that's odd. Usually the search terms are that you're hitting are, see here you have tacit knowledge, right? They would be highlighted yellow, so you can always see why you hit that. I don't know why it's not doing it today. Either it's me, it's a change, or it's a bug. I won't worry about it too much, but you should be able to understand why your search results in a certain set of papers. So here I see that tacit knowledge is included in the abstract. It's not included in the keywords, and it's not included in the title, right? So if I go back and do another search, and I do only article title, so all of these hits you see have tacit knowledge written in the title, right? So that should be pretty clear that the field is really important. And if you search for something, title, abstract keywords, your key, whatever you're searching for can be found either in the title, abstract, or keywords. Not all three of them. It's in either. I've used a phrased search because I want tacit knowledge. So I've used a phrased search which has quotation marks because I want tacit knowledge to be one phrase. If I don't do that, here you find, for example, this article title has tacit and knowledge, but not together. So it's not tacit knowledge, but it is a title that has both tacit and knowledge written in it. So that's why if you want something to be together, right, then you have to use a phrased search with quotation marks. Nicholas is going to talk more about that in the advanced search part. But I think that that's a basic thing that you need to keep in mind. Now, if I spend a bit of time building a search, like tacit, I could add a search field and say, I also want it to include intelligence. So I want the hits to have both. So I might look through some of this and see how useful is it to me. This is a conference paper. I can see the title. I can see who's written it. It's from Delft University in the Netherlands, my country. have the abstract here so I can read the abstract. If this paper is one that I'm interested in, I can see what my full text options are. So it says I can view at publisher. So if I click this, it should link me to the publisher website. And here, depending on your university subscriptions or whether it's an open access article, right, you will be able to get the full text. Scopus does not include the full text. It links to the full text. Whether you have access to the full text depends on the subscriptions that your university has, or if it's open access, the paper, if it's an open access paper, then it's open to everyone. So keep that in mind. But I'm not quite happy with the search yet. So I'm going to go back and let me see, go back. Okay. Or I'm going to go back and do that one, but limit it to, I don't want the computer science. There's a lot of tacit knowledge in computer sciences, but I want business, social sciences, and psychology. Limit to. So now I have quite a specific group of papers. And let's say that I did research in this area many years ago. And for me, it was very important to find the foundational papers that would help me understand this field that I wanted. I was doing a thesis, right? I needed to read everything that would help me understand the field before I do my own research, because if I don't read everything, I might repeat something someone else has done. I might not, I might make the same mistakes other people have done. I might simply be unaware of things. So it was super important for me to do a literature study for many weeks to find all of the papers related to tacit knowledge and intelligence, to start to form my own ideas and to start to think of what are my hypotheses, how, what type of research should I do in this field? What's the next step in developing this body of knowledge, right? So the first thing that I needed to do, back then the tools were more simple, but is to build a search that starts to narrow it down so it's specific enough, but not so specific that you're not finding stuff, right? So you want to make it specific so you're not finding like 50,000 papers, which you'll never have time to read. But at the same time, you don't want to reduce it too much that you're not finding stuff that maybe is relevant, but is not using the keywords that you're looking at, right? So so I've done that here, tacit knowledge, intelligence. I've limited it to a number of subject fields. Now, I might not want to come back and do this again next week. So I can make a search alert. So here you see set search alert. And it's already got the name of the search. It has my email. And I can say, I'm doing research. I'm on a timeline, right? I actually want an email every Monday. And I want this email to have a link that's going to show me all the new papers. Remember, 13,000 papers are loaded into Scopus every day. So which of those papers are related to this search? Instead of redoing the search every week, Scopus will do it for me and show me the newest things there. So that's one thing that you can do. Again, learn to make a basic search query, find some of the papers. I like to search by cited, or sort by cited by, to look at some of the really highly cited papers. So in my field, when I did my research, this was the paper that changed everything, right? When I read this paper, it changed the way that I thought about this topic, and it helped me to form the focus area, hypothesis, and method for the research project that I was doing. Which meant that, all right, I was like, I read this paper and it was interesting. What about the other research that these two people have done, right? So both of these are really big researchers in intelligence research. And the role of tacit knowledge in intelligence is really very interesting, because intelligence declines with age while tacit knowledge increases with age. So it's like one of the not depressing stories of psychology, where most things just get worse as you get older, but practical intelligence and tacit knowledge keeps going up. Right. So I wanted to know more about Robert Sternberg, and I can click on his name and view his profile. So Robert Sternberg is really focused on intelligence research. He's at Cornell University. He's a, hotshot. I mean, incredibly accomplished researcher, an H-index of 96, 700 papers, right? Really highly cited stuff. Now, what I did was to go through his papers and read these other papers to understand a little bit more about what, knowledge and wisdom is there, because it would help me to understand my field. I'm trying to become an expert in this field. What I also can do is set an alert so that every time Robert publishes a paper, let's say just once a month, I would like to see a list of his new papers. Yeah. So that's another strategy for finding things is what you can search for a document, but if you find a really important document, have a look at the author profiles. Have a look at the people that wrote those papers and see, should you be reading the other papers that they've read? So that's another one. But if I go back to this paper that for me was foundational, another thing we can do is look in the references. This paper is really old, so it doesn't have references. But if you find, let's look at Richard Wagner instead. If you find a particular paper, here, so let's change the subject. We're talking about dyslexia now. Let's say that this paper for me is a really interesting one. Who is he citing? These are these are 57 papers which this paper is citing. So if you want to really go to the foundations of how someone has done their own research, you can start to go through these references. If the reference is in Scopus, you'll be able to link to it. All right. So in that way, I think my strategy usually is make a search, make sure that that search is specific enough, but not too specific. Look at the papers. You can use sorting by citations, right? So if and I think we're skipping to what's the role of the search history, is I was trying to go back and show you something, right? So I'm thinking, ooh, what did I search for? You see here history of the searches that I've done today. And if I want to go back to one of them, I don't have to redo it, right? I can just click here and I'm going to see those results. So I was saying that the way that I find my foundational papers for a particular field is first make a good search and then sort by cited by. And usually there's some reason that these papers are highly cited, right? Which means I might want to start, instead of reading all 164 papers in a random order, I might want to start with these. But again, any of these papers you can open, link to the full text, but also leverage the author profile and the references to widen to widen the discovery process. And remember that here, the full text you can find with a button here. There might be multiple ways to get to the full text, but you should be able to link to it. And again, depending on the type of article and your subscriptions at your university, you should be able to get the full text. Did I forget anything? So we covered the first three.
Sander, there's a question from the
Yeah.
audience, and I think it overlaps perfectly with what you're saying. They
Sure.
were asking on how you could combine search history with current search.
Let's give it a try. If I go back to search, you can combine queries. I don't know why I would want to combine any of these, but you can. Let me see if I combine. So you can combine them, but you also you can these queries you can actually paste and alter them. And that's what we do in advanced search, which Nicholas is going to talk about. So if you want to take that search and add something like you have to be very careful with your brackets here, but oopsie. So it's got like you can outline your query to see if it's, so I want it, maybe I need another bracket. Yeah, I'm crap at advanced searches because of all the brackets, and that's why, honestly, advanced searches are for people that understand how to isolate the parts. So let me see, test it now like that. Maybe I need to. All right, I give up. Nicholas, what do you think?
I think you might have to remove a couple of the syntax brackets, but I would say that with regards to combining advanced search together with combining the search history with the advanced search, that's exactly what you can be doing, because we already have outlined the syntax for you. So all you really have to do is just copy and paste it within the advanced search. You can do as what Sander suggested with regards to outlining the query, and then you can use it to isolate the syntax itself. We'll cover this in more detail, to be honest. I just thought it was a nice bridge to showcase between search history as well as the advanced search capabilities that we have over here in Scopus itself.
So here I want papers that have tacit knowledge in the title, but not intelligence in the title. Yay, it worked. So having the search history means you can also save searches. So if you want to save a search, you can use it later. But these are all copyable. You can just literally copy paste these into your advanced search. And then you do need a bit of experience in working with, especially the brackets is what gets me. But if you want to know all tacit knowledge papers that are funded by a particular funder, and you know the name of the funder, there's a lot of things that you can do. And I've seen librarians construct incredibly complex search queries and then save them and use them periodically. I think for students, probably just use the basic search, because the basic search is doing that already. I mean, it's helping you to do that because you can combine fields and say exactly the same as I did before, right? I can say I want and not. So I want tacit knowledge and not intelligence, right? So that's, I don't have to write that complicated query. And I can, say I want it to see only what's been published, since 2020 to present. What else can I do? I don't, that was, oops. Yeah, so all those fields that we were looking at in advanced search, they're here as well. So if I said and not, or
Maybe you can
and
add in affiliation country, Malaysia.
yeah, okay. Oops. Right, and here at the top, you see this is that search query in the advanced form. All right. I think the next part was searching for authors. So again, you don't have to search for individual papers. You can look for people, but you have to know their name. So if I know a particular person, right? And I can start with the last name, first letter. If they have a common name, you might want to add the name of where they work, but I'm just going to do it without. I see Richard Riderinkov, who is my professor at the University of Amsterdam. He does research on many aspects of cognitive abilities. So yeah, I can find the person. And again, I can set an alert if this person, if I want to have papers, you can find yourself in as well in Scopus, right? So you can, if you find your own profile in Scopus, you can connect yourself to ORCID. If you have an ORCID ID, you can also make changes to your profile. So if something is missing, you can go to edit profile, and you can remove any documents that don't belong. You can add any documents, which they have to be indexed in journals that are in Scopus. But the point is, if you are already have done research, it's good to go in, find your profile, and make sure it's correct. And any changes that you want to make, you can make yourself. Again, you just find yourself, you press a button here, edit profile, follow the instructions there. It should be pretty straightforward to do. If you want to link to ORCID, you can press this and you follow the instructions. So it's going to get you to log in to your ORCID here, right? And then it's going to make a link between the two, which means that if you have that link, everyone that goes to your author profile in Scopus will see the ORCID ID, and it will link them to ORCID if they click on that. So please keep that in mind. You can find any researcher that has at least one paper in Scopus has a profile. You can find them using the author search, last name, first letter. If it's a common name, add the name of the institution here. Affiliation search, affiliation just means institution, but if I wanted to know all the research that Apple computing is doing, I might search for Apple and see that they have a profile and they've published papers. They have a number of authors that are working there. So if I wanted to, for example, see the papers published by Apple Computing, I can see Yeah, well, I can see these papers, or if I wanted to see what is there, we have UPM right here. This is UPM, 55,000 papers. You can see the author profiles of who's working at a particular university. So here would be all the profiles that the people have. That doesn't mean they currently work at UPM, but they have published at UPM. Yeah, Sapuan at the top still. Yeah, so you can see all of these and you can export them. So I've had a lot of questions from librarians about this. Can we export all the authors? So yeah, you can export up to 4,000 at a time. You've got some basic statistics here, like the number of papers broken down by subject area. If the university has a hierarchy, so you can see that they have a profile for Faculty of Medicine and so forth, but it all rolls up to UPM. You can see who they collaborate with. They collaborate most with UKM and UM and UITM. And you can see which journals they've published most in. So there's basic stuff. There's different reasons for looking at an institutional level. Usually researchers themselves aren't doing it. It's more, I think the institution wants to make sure that all the papers are complete and do some analysis and stuff. But yeah, you can set up a document alert. Did I miss anything, Nick?
No, I think it's actually pretty comprehensive. Although there are lots of questions coming in
Really?
the Q&A
Okay.
box.
Are we in trouble yet?
No, I don't think it's trouble, but I think we just needed to clarify on some things. I think a couple of attendees, they are asking why is it that their access appears as Scopus preview, and some of them want to know how they can get into Malaysia's Scopus. So I think for that answer actually is quite straightforward. You need to log in via your library credentials and then access Scopus accordingly from there as well. In this case, you will have access to Scopus because it's provisioned across all the 20 public universities. Some of them were asking much more specific questions. For instance, like what is the difference between searches with quotation marks and without quotation marks?
Okay, I think I explained that the phrase search quotation marks is, let me demonstrate it again. Let me get rid of all of this. So if I look at all articles and I don't use quotation marks, right? And search for tacit knowledge. I find a paper here that has both tacit and knowledge in the title, but it doesn't say tacit knowledge. It says tacit / explicit knowledge, and here it says knowledge, right? So it's not tacit knowledge as a phrase. So with quotation marks, we call it a phrased search. And if I search for that, then every paper that I hit has tacit knowledge, tacit knowledge, tacit knowledge, tacit knowledge, right? So that's the way that works. I mean, if I do a phrase search for, let's see if there's a paper or a book chapter or something. Oh my God, there's not a single title that says I love Malaysia. So I need to broaden my search. Let's see. No, all right. I thought it was a funny example, but so it's very specific. Yeah, there's not a single paper that has that. Well, if I remove the phrase, the quotation marks, Sorry. It finds 75 papers. It just means that the words tacit knowledge, see, if I don't use the quotation marks, it just looks for papers that have the word tacit and knowledge and practical and intelligence in either the title, abstract, or keyword. So if I look at, yes, it has knowledge, intelligence, tacit knowledge. So this one got hit, for example. So a phrase search is much more specific. Sometimes you don't want to use a phrase search because it's okay if the words aren't next to each other. It depends on what you're trying to do. But I hope that answers the question.
Another question they had was, can they search for the number of publications on a specific topic for a span of time, for instance, the past 10 years?
Yeah. So if I look, again, let's say I just want to know tacit knowledge, right? And 10 years, I would say 2013 to present. And I search for that. I find 4,000 documents. Now, there's a nice button here called Analyze Results. And if I press that button, then my screen goes black. Now here. Now I can see the number of papers. Now this year obviously is low because it's not done yet. But if you wanted to just look until next year, you see a nice trend. Right? And you can link through to the papers as well. And you can see who are the top authors, the top universities, the top countries, and all of that. So yes, absolutely. But the first step is you got to make a good search, right? And that's why we're teaching you how to do the search, because you need to find the right field. If you need to define a field, you need to be able to have a search that's going to be good. And then you can do these types of analysis. So again, I'll just show you that again. You do your search, you set your parameters, right? Which we've been talking about for 45 minutes already. You view the search results. You might, let's say, let's pretend I only want to look at social sciences, right? If I limit to social sciences. Again, if I want to analyze something, I don't want to look at the individual papers, but I want to understand the number of papers. Here, this button here, Analyze Results. And then you get that. Okay. Any other burning questions?
Actually, there's lots of questions that are coming through right now, but it's good. I think this is how we like to engage in a live environment. So, just now when we were doing a search and we showcase affiliation country, so one of the participants has a question with regards to it, because just now they saw that we did a search query by Malaysia, but the journal appeared does not state that it's coming from Malaysia, and they want to know if this is normal. So I guess we might have to go a bit deeper into the details for them there.
Sorry, the question is,
when we did the search, the advanced search on affiliation country, and we showcased that it was from Malaysia, the results doesn't state outright that it's from Malaysia. They want to know a bit more details with regards to it.
So let's say I look for country. So I find 189 papers. You see that the people here are affiliated to institutions in Malaysia. And that's why these papers are counting in this search result here also. This one's from China, but this one is UITM. Look at the next one. Bandung, Indonesia. And this one is University Pendidikan Sultan Idris in Malaysia. Malaysia. See, so that's how that works. It's based on where the author is working.
Yep. And I think with this, you also answered another question, because one of the audience wanted to know if we can highlight that if you're from more than one affiliation itself. So in this case, Scopus does pick up on multiple affiliations too.
Yeah, it sure does. So in this case, they all just work for one, but let me find a example. Yeah, I mean, if they belong to more than one, they would have two letters next to their name. So far, I don't see any good random examples here, but it does here. So this one says B, C, and D. See if we can zoom in on that. Here you see that Sinan Adnan is affiliated to B, C, and D. So that's College of Engineering, College of Biotechnology, and School of Computing. So this paper would belong to all of these institutions based on this. Actually, several of them have 3 affiliations, but yes, Scopus captures that if it's captured in the original publication. So it's important that you indicate this correctly on your paper, and that the journal that you're publishing in captures this correctly in their metadata, right? So Scopus is a secondary publisher, right? We publish what's given to us, right? So it's very important that whichever journal, conference, book you're working with accurately captures information such as your affiliation. All right, let's leave some of the questions for later. I'm going to go back into the slides. Let's move that to the end. I think I'm going to hand over to Nicola. You're just going to tell me what to do. And
Sure thing, no worries. So next slide, please, Sander. So just now earlier, I think Sander showcased and highlighted some of the Boolean operators that we are talking about. But I think a key thing that we want to highlight is that when you're crafting your search, you should always use very specific terms that are very closely related to your research topics, while at the same time avoid words that are too general. So Sander gave a very good example because he was going through tacit knowledge. He showed you the importance of how you should use an open inverted commas as to highlight key phrases, because right now what you're searching for are the keywords and the main construct of your search parameters. But what you should also do when you're choosing your search terms is that you also probably want to include alternate words and abbreviations. To expand on your search process itself, you may want to leverage on what we call as Boolean operators. The 3 key ones that we use within Scopus would be and, or, and not. These are the 3 key operators. So the 3 operators all function very differently from one another. The AND operator, which is probably the most common, finds documents which contains all of the terms. So you use this when you want to narrow down the parameters of your search. In this case, you're using it when the terms must appear, and sometimes they may also be far apart from one another. So if you're looking for, say, a programmable logic controller, you can use the AND operator to look for it together with elevator itself, right? You use the Boolean operator AND to basically find documents which contains all of the terms. The OR operator allows you to find documents which contains any of the terms. So you use this when you want to expand the search parameter, because now you're giving more operators to work with. So you're using the OR when at least one of the terms must appear. In this case, you're talking about synonyms, alternate spellings, or abbreviations. For instance, we're very used to the term micromouse, but did you know that it's also known as picomouse? So you can use the OR operator to cover a broader scope in terms of your search. The and not operator excludes documents, which includes the specific term from the search. You use the term and not to exclude specific terms, and you can use this at the end of a search. So if you're looking for, say, a micro mouse or a pickle mouse and not a rodent, this is a way that you can use it to basically limit the parameter itself. Next slide, please. So we talk about phrases and separate words, right? If you don't specify anything between the two words, Scopus automatically joins them with the Boolean operator and, so the words may not necessarily be together. So note the difference here. We're looking for conversion disorder, right? But in this case, you can find a document with disorders of vision in the title and image conversion in the keywords. So when Sander was doing tacit knowledge without the keywords, this is exactly what it was happening. It can be looking for the term tacit in the title, in the abstract, or the keywords, and marry it together with the term knowledge in a similar combination as well. But if you want to search for a specific term, use the open inverted commas or the double quotation marks when you're searching for conversion disorder, right? Because otherwise a loose phrase search would just, be like a normal search. You look for all the parameters. Next slide, please. So we showcased this to you earlier. We can see that it's highlighted within the search history. Next slide. And this is where you can probably combine queries or you can edit it accordingly. Another operator which we can leverage on within Scopus would be the proximity operators, which finds words within one another, right? So you can look for it either the same sentence or the paragraph. You can specify how close it is with a number, and this will help you to find articles which you otherwise might miss. So in one example that we saw just now, we saw tacit, something and knowledge, right? So in this case, if you're looking for tacit knowledge, those sometimes you might miss it out, but now you can use the preceding or within operators. The preceding operators show that the first word must not be more than n number of words away from the second. It is up to you to list what's the parameter. Same for within, in which case it doesn't matter which word is first. So if you're looking for, say, Zika virus, but sometimes you may want to just give it a larger parameter to work with, you can look for preceding to virus, and you can find Zika or dengue virus as well as Zika virus, right? So Zika within to, you can find virus infection with Zika or virus like Zika or virus and Zika, right? So this will be very much more precise than just Zika and virus. You can really work around the parameters. You can save it. And now this is something I'll encourage you to work with as well when you're leveraging on Boolean operators within the advanced search. Next slide, please. These are just some examples that you can see when you're leveraging it. We can see Zika and virus, you get about 9,300 searches. But when we do Zika virus, you get 9,561. The preceding two will be less, of course, than the within two search, which is 8,679. Next slide, please. So the Scopus search itself, there's some things that we automated for you so that it's easier than before. So if you're looking for accented characters like Vorak or Dvorak, you don't need to highlight the accents itself, right? It just makes it much more easier for you. We also do what we call as lemmatization. So attack is the same as attacks, wide is the same as wider. We are not that OCD or specific that we will require you to do aggregation of all of this, right? So you don't need to do attack or attacks, it's just automatic. We also use equivalents like this symbol for omega, the behavior in terms of the spelling from the UK spelling, or behavior without the U from a US spelling. We ignore punctuations, and we also ignore stop words. So words like the, it, of, they're often excluded from the search. We do have a list of this, so you kind of know what you're working with. We can also override with an exact phrase, which will find only an exact match for a word, phrase, or character. Next slide, please. So any word or in a loose phrase, you can use wildcard operators, which can be anywhere in the word, even at the beginning. So question mark represents any single character, while asterisk represents any number of characters, even for 0. So you can look for W asterisk T, it can be Ward, Whiters, Wheat, Wheelwright, even WT. But you can only use this within a word because W asterisk T will not give you the phrase wordless because it will be way too broad in that case and too unspecific. Next slide, please. Yep, this is over to you. Back to you, Sander, with regards to
All
journal
right.
searching.
Yeah. Okay. I see someone asked, how long does it take for Scopus to update the researcher's profile when it's been edited? So it usually takes a number of days, I would say 4 or 5 days. If it's very complex what you've asked for, it might be validated by a team. They might come back and ask questions. But generally it's just a few days, let's say a week. Anonymous person, do the certificate provided to all the participants. So for those of you that are here for certificates, yes, you can get a certificate at the end. So you have to attend this webinar. At the end, we will give instructions on how to get the certificate. So yeah, hang in there and we'll explain it at the end. Yeah. Okay, journal search. So yes, we can search for papers, for people, institutions, but we can also search for journals. And searching for journals is important because a lot of researchers are being asked to publish in a particular type of journal or journal of a particular quality level. And where you find that is a little bit, it's not here, it's up here in sources. And that's easy to miss, I think. Certainly you can search for a journal title, but my preference is always to use the subject area. And then you've got 333 categories you can search in. So you have 27 main subject areas, big subject areas like arts and humanities, biochemistry, business, mathematics, physics, medicine, and all of that. But you also have the sub-disciplines if you want to get really specific. So if we stick to the example of my field, I studied developmental psychology. So I will go down and find psychology. And then here, my discipline is developmental and educational psychology. Let's say that I'm also interested actually in some neuropsychology and social psychology. So that's less than all of psychology. It's 3 categories. I press apply. I can see there are 804 titles in Scopus. Titles means it could be a journal, conference, or book series. Yeah, so if I look at Nature, Human Behavior, and it's blank, that's not good. All right, there we go. So here we see that the Lancet Child and Adolescent Health belongs both developmental and educational psychology as well as medicine. So you can see a journal can have more than one subject area or category, right? So this journal is both psychology and medicine. And we have 3 metrics here to understand the quality of the journal. Cite score is the Elsevier metric that looks at the average number of citations. So we can see that this journal in the 4 years between 2019 and 2022 published 336 papers, and they were cited more than 10,000 times, which is an average of 30.9 citations per paper, which makes this journal rank number 1 in my field. So if I look here, I can see that in my field, right, developmental educational psychology, you can see this is the top journal. This is number 2, number 3, number 4, and so forth. That allows me to find which journal meets my criteria, because if I just click back, Some researchers are required to publish in a top quartile journal, so the 25% best journals in their field. That can be a requirement, and you can use the filter quartile 1. Some funding bodies, so some people who provide money to researchers, or some universities are requiring that their researchers publish in open access journals. There's another filter here. So let's say my requirement is I want to publish in a quartile 1 journal, and it must be open access. I find 25 results. I can go through these and why are these look old? I'm gonna pick a different field. So if I pick food science right there, see quartile 1, open access, get 40 results. But anyway, that's how you search for journals, books, and conferences that meet what you're looking for. You can search, if you want to look only at journals, you can use these buttons here. You also have a source title list. So if you want to download all of the journals, conferences, and books that are in Scopus, you can do that. And I highly recommend to do that if you want to know the latest status. You know, Scopus adds new journals all the time, and it removes some journals. It's curated. If you want to know what's the latest set of journals, you can download that here. So it's downloading now. I'm going to open it, and that's going to take a second, and I'm going to show you what it looks like.
I think this is perfect timing because one of the questions is how would they be able to recognize whether or not a journal or a publisher is no longer indexed within Scopus itself?
Yeah, all right. All right, so that's very small. I'm going to try to save your eyeballs and go. All right, so here it says Scopus sources May 2023. So you can see the source title, very important, active or inactive. So you can see we have active titles, we have inactive titles. Inactive simply means that the journal is no longer being indexed in Scopus. It could mean that the journal ceased to exist, or maybe they stopped, you know, just like good TV programs or a great, you know, sportsman or any group of people might at some point decide, we don't want to do it anymore. We've been doing it for 50 years. Journals sometimes just stop doing what they're doing. Other journals are removed because of quality reasons. You can see in red if a journal has been discontinued because of quality reasons. They're very visible, right? You have the third tab is a list of all the titles that have been discontinued. So you can see these titles have been discontinued. And you see the reason. Very importantly, you see the last year, volume, issue, and pages that were indexed in Scopus. So we keep the older content in Scopus, but we stop indexing it moving forward. So it's very important you don't accidentally publish in one of these journals, because your paper will not be included in Scopus. It won't be counted if your university is using Scopus for acknowledging your work or giving you credit. Then obviously if you publish in one of these journals, you're in trouble, right? So this list is updated once a month, and this is the best place to look and understand what is in Scopus and what's been removed. But also the second one is which new journals have just been added to Scopus. So here you see that we've added a ton of new journals, like just lots and lots and lots and lots of journals that you could be publishing in that are new. Maybe you didn't know about them. So this list is here. You can download it just directly from Scopus itself. So I'll go back to, yeah, so that was just download Scopus source list. You do that here. You have to have created a username password. So I think that is, you can see I'm logged in as me. And that means that I can use this. I can also set up search alerts, and I can change my search alerts. If you don't have a username, you can't do that. So you should, first of all, you need to get access to Scopus. These webinars are intended for the 20 public universities who all have IP access to Scopus, right? So I understand some people might have joined and then are not working at one of these institutions, but these webinars were intended for the 20 public universities where the Ministry of Higher Education has given Scopus subscription to all of them for many years already. So assuming that you're within the IP range of your public university, you should be able to access Scopus. And then I recommend that you set up your own like username password, and that will allow you to save searches and also be able to check a bunch of other stuff, right? So I recommend that. See 8 more questions. So I think we are getting to yeah, I think I covered that. We are getting to the Q&A. So I'm going to open the box. Saiful, in a Boolean search, would it make any difference if I type non-international armed conflict and non-international armed?
No,
No.
there's no difference. Yeah. So the good thing is that because we actually remove all the special symbols from the search itself, so we make it a lot easier for you, so you don't have to repeat searches that
There's
way.
another person asking, how can I get a certificate? Is patience. You have to just be patient and wait until the end. If you're only interested in the certificate, then that's not good. So be patient. I published a paper in a Scopus listed journal, but it does not appear in my Scopus account. Is there a possible reason I can do in this regard? You can ask for if you're sure it's in a Scopus listed journal and your paper isn't there, then it could be missing content. So then you would, let me see how we can do this. So first of all, I would recommend really make sure it's missing. Search for the paper itself, look at the journal, right? So I would look at the journal, search for the journal, and see if that volume and issue is covered, right? If you find the journal and the volume and issue is covered, but you see that your particular paper is missing, then it's missing content. Missing content can be added. How do we do that, Nicholas?
I think we can go to the support center. So they can contact us. So you're exactly there. So when you contact us, you can drop us a note and you can submit it as well.
Yeah, so no, there should be.
How do you request to add a missing document? Number 3. There you go.
Yeah, here. So you open, I find it hard to find, but
It's a lot of words, yeah.
so here you can say something's missing. So you say my paper is missing. You can indicate what your paper is, and if you have a PDF of the paper, you can upload it there. So it's a bit of a trick to find that. You say, oh, I'm an author. My paper add missing documents, right? So you follow these instructions. I will put this in the chat. Service center. Okay. Are subject area and search different? Yes. Search is search. A subject area is the classification of a particular document, right? So or a journal. A journal can belong to the field of medicine. But when you're searching, unless you're searching for a subject area, which could be the case, I think it's hard for me to explain. Nicholas, maybe you can explain the difference.
So within Scopus, I think Sandra mentioned earlier, when we search on Scopus, we have approximately about sub-subject areas of up to 333 sub-disciplines listed in it. This is what we call like the all science journal classification. I would say when you're searching for information, sometimes you're searching for keywords. But when it comes to searching for subject area, it will boils down to the journals in which the content in which you're searching for, under which subject areas it's classified under. So that's a very big difference. So based on what you want to do and how you want to structure your search, perhaps you maybe want to look for a keyword like tacit knowledge, and you want to look for specifically within psychology. In this case, this would filter out all the other tacit knowledge search results that you're getting from various other sources. So this is one way that you may want to leverage on to filter and to narrow down the parameters of the content in which you're looking for. I think that one should be, yeah, hopefully this answers your question.
Okay, I see a couple of questions, people asking to repeat things that we explained, and I don't think we have time to do that. We have 15 minutes left. Tomorrow you get a link to the recording. So if you missed something, please watch the recording and find the relevant part, because we don't have time to repeat things in a lot of detail. So if you're asking the Q ranking, I assume that you mean the quartile. That is ranking of journals based on site score, and a quartile represents the top quartile is the top 25%. Second quartile is the second 25%, right? So between 50 and 75%, the third quartile, right? So if you don't know what it is, it's probably not that important for you, because if no one's asking you to publish in a top quartile journal, then probably not something to worry about at this point. But it's a way of ranking journals. So quartile just means you divide them into groups of 25, the top 25%, the second, the third, and the fourth. And that's based on a journal metric, and those journal metrics are in Scopus, so you can see the rank of a journal. Are journals from Scopus peer-reviewed? Yes, so Scopus only includes peer-reviewed journals, conferences, and books. So everything is peer-reviewed, and the content is very carefully selected, so that we only include journals that meet the criteria, but one of the criteria is peer review. So yes. Can you repeat the active and inactive status? Yeah, please watch the recording tomorrow. I think we were very specific and demonstrated it, and it will be in the recording. So forgive me for not being able to cover that now. I don't know that one. Maybe Nicholas, you can do that one. If the word in the search query contains plural form, what should we do to make the search precise? Plurals, it will automatically include plurals and different variations. So you don't need to include every permutation or account for difference between English and American spelling. Plurals, past and present tense, all of those things are intelligently done by Scopus, so you don't need to worry about that. Can you list the 20 universities registered with Scopus? It's the 20 public universities in Malaysia. It's the RU5, it's the technical universities and the comprehensive universities. The list of names, and easily search in Google for the public universities in Malaysia. It's 20 universities. Generally, for how long the conference articles are updated. I mean, if an article is published, can it still be found in Scopus? Maybe. Yep. So papers that are published in journals, books, or conferences, and they are indexed in Scopus, they will stay in Scopus. So the database just continues to keep all of the content in it. It doesn't throw it out at some point. So don't worry. Yes, it will still be there after 10 or 15 or 20 years. Certificate, yes, certificates. We're almost there. So the people asking for certificates, yeah, we're almost there. It's like, can you please show once again how to access the database of Scopus listed journals? Please refer to the recording. All right, so the top question, Nicholas says, would it be possible to curate a list to include time to publish, open access versus non-open access status, or article publishing fee? I'm assuming you get this question more often.
I do actually. So it really depends on which publisher you're referring to. So because we are from Elsevier, so I'll speak to you with regards to Elsevier journals. If you go to this page called journalfinder.elsevier.com, and I believe we actually have provided this resource in the slides that will be distributed, you'll be able to search for all Elsevier journals, which may be a good fit for your manuscript if you put in your title, your abstract, and your keywords. I'll paste this
How's
link.
that? Journal
Finder. Perfect, thank you. So within Journal Finder itself, it will give you a whole list of, this probably not this one. You have to type Journal Finder Elsevier, sorry. Perfect.
This one, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So over here, you can
yeah.
just type in your paper title, your abstract, and this is actually really useful for you because we give you a whole list of Elsevier journals, which we think are appropriate fit for your manuscript itself. So Sandra's giving you a quick example with regards to this, and when we search for it, you get some magical answers. First and foremost, you see a couple of things. You can see journals that offer Go Open Access or journals with subscription based on your preferences itself. You can see also at the same time how long it takes for the journal to make its first decision, as well as the time to publication details. Over here, we give you additional information, including the site score, the impact factor, the acceptance rate. We also give you the options if you want to publish as Go Open Access, how much it costs for you to publish in Go Open Access, as well as, well, it's free for you to publish if you were to choose a subscription model itself. This is probably one way for you to do so. Another information that I will also share is that if you want to find out more information about Elsevier journals, all you have to do is to type in and search for the Elsevier journal title, and we will give you full details on all of the questions in which you're asking for as well. So all this information is very clearly highlighted, and we provide you with sources for you to search for as well. So hopefully this answers your question.
All right. And with that, we've answered all of the questions. And I'm really glad that people ask so many questions. That's better than, people being a little bit too shy. So that's much appreciated. I think Nicholas is always keen on introducing people to Researcher Academy, since we have a lot of students and researchers. Maybe you can cover this as well.
Yeah, I'll be happy to. So the Researcher Academy is something that Elsevier provides, which takes our research community, whichever level of seniority they are, through the different phases of the research cycle, so that you know how to, for instance, prepare for your research, what you need to know about the publication process, how you can demonstrate your impact. So this is something which is entirely free. I highly encourage you to sign up for it, and hopefully we'll be able to answer and to guide you with some of the questions that you're facing as well. Next slide, please. These are some of the examples that we can see, right, in terms of research preparation, in terms on how you can write for research, for you to know more about the publication process, how you can navigate the peer review process, how you can reply to your revisions, or how you can also nominate yourself, or how you can work towards being a peer reviewer, and how you may want to communicate your research itself. So this is free access. I highly encourage you to sign up for it if you have more questions as well.
All right, so I think we have some support and training materials and resources here. So again, these slides will be shared with you tomorrow, at least a link. You can download the slides. You can sign up for the remaining webinars, see which ones are relevant to you. And with that, we're going to go to the highly anticipated certificates. So, dun, 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 certificates. You can use the QR code. It will link to a survey. The survey is to evaluate the performance of Nicholas and I. So we appreciate your feedback and hope that today was helpful. Please be nice to us. We've done our best to serve you well and to provide you everything that you need to know. But if you have questions, you can follow up with us, and I think we'll answer a lot of them in the following session. So please feel free to attend whichever ones are good for you. Again, the QR code there will link to a page. It's a 2-minute survey, answer the questions. After that, you can use the workshop code. You must use the workshop code that's written here, SEULQG, capital letters, to get the certificate in that platform. If you don't manage to do it now, please don't email us. Wait for the email, which will come tomorrow at 10 a.m. Zoom will send an email to everyone. It will have a link to these slides as well as a link to the recording so that you can find this page and use the QR code or the bit.ly link here at the bottom to do this process, right? So we sometimes get a lot of emails of like a lot of people asking, please send me the certificate. We can't send you the certificate. You have to do it yourself in the system, right? There are instructions there. 99% of the people manage to do it, but sometimes there are people that don't manage to do it now. Maybe we, don't have this up on the screen too long. Please be patient and just wait for the recording then tomorrow and find this page, and I'm sure you'll be able to get it sorted. So with that, we're going to end 6 minutes early, give us all 6 minutes of extra time, maybe go for an early lunch. So with that, thanks a lot and wish you a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Take care of yourself. Stay safe. We'll see you around.
All right. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.